There was once, and there never was, a little tin soldier. This tin soldier was steady and firm and true, and he stood on one leg because there wasn't enough tin left to make two. He came in a pack with 24 other tin soldiers, and these tin soldiers were given to a young boy on his birthday. Now the little boy took out the little wounded tin soldier and decided it was his favourite, so he placed him on a dining room table with all the other toys. And on that table was a paper palace. And the tin soldier looked at the paper palace, and in the doorway was a beautiful, divine ballerina with a tutu, her hands up in the air, her head slightly to one side, and her back leg behind her up in the air. The tin soldier didn't see the back leg. He thought she was one-legged like him, and he fell in love the moment he saw her. Now that night, when everyone had gone to bed and the sun had gone down, the toys began to play, because that's what they do at night. The tin soldier, though, he didn't join in all the fun. He stood steady and firm and true as ever, his eyes fixed intensely on the ballerina. And the ballerina sort of glanced at him occasionally and then blushed and glanced away. Late into the night, a big box in the centre of the table sprung open, and out came a disgusting, hideous goblin. And the goblin came out, and he started to jump around the table, jibing and mocking everyone. And he saw the tin soldier, and he said, "I don't like you very much. I'm going to get you, I am, and you can't have that ballerina, she's mine." The next day, the tin soldier was placed on the windowsill. Now, I don't know if it was the goblin's mischief or just bad luck, but somehow the tin soldier got knocked off the window pane, and he went tumbling down into the flower bed below. Now, the flower bed was covered in dirt and mud. It had been raining, so it was all really disgusting, but the tin soldier, he just stayed steady and true and firm and tall, and he sat there and waited. A couple of hours later, when the rain had stopped a little, some boys came out to play, and they saw the tin soldier there, and they said to themselves, "I know what we can do. Let's build him a little boat and sail him down the gutter." Now the gutter was full of a stream running right down the hill. The tin soldier was placed in the centre of a paper boat. Now to you and me, it was just a tiny little stream, but to that tin soldier, it was a huge, rushing, great river. But he wasn't scared. He stayed true, he stayed firm, he never wavered once, even when the water was splashing in his face. And long after the two boys got bored and disappeared, on he went down the stream, until finally he came to a drain. And when the boat came to the drain, it went straight down the drain into the sewers. It was dark in the sewers, really dark, and much, much scarier. The water was much dirtier and fuller and faster, and the boat was rocked from side to side, and the poor, poor tin soldier had to do all he could to keep steady and firm and not fall in that water. And then he saw a light at the end of the tunnel, and he knew that finally he'd be out of the sewers. Suddenly, the tin soldier was confronted with a disgusting, whiskered little sewer rat with horrible teeth. "Oh, hello there. If you want to come through my sewer, you have to pay me a toll. Give me the money," said the sewer rat. The tin soldier was not afraid of him, though. He stayed steady and true and firm and looked straight past him and carried on, straight out towards the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, at the end of the tunnel, the sewer went out into the sea. It was only a small little waterfall to you and me, but to the tin soldier it was like the Niagara Falls. He stayed firm and steady, and he didn't close his eyes because he was a brave little tin soldier, and the boat flew out of the sewer and into the sea. When it hit the surface, it very quickly began to fill up with water. The tin soldier stood as high and as tall as he could, but very quickly the water went over his face, and the boat disappeared away, and the tin soldier began to float gently towards the seabed. And as he did, suddenly, out of nowhere, came a fish and gobbled him up. Now, if you thought it was dark in the sewer, it was absolutely pitch black inside that fish's stomach. The tin soldier kept as steady and as straight as he could. Even though the fish was jumping about and flipping and flapping all over the place, the tin soldier wasn't sick, and he stayed very, very firm and strong and brave. And it seemed that he was in there for a whole age, an eternity. Eventually, the fish got still, and then some time after that, a bright, blinding white light hit the tin soldier in the eyes, as the fish had been cut open. The tin soldier looked up into the face of a cook, and the cook looked down at the tin soldier. And the two of them thought to themselves, "You look vaguely familiar. Now, because of the magic of stories, the tin soldier had landed right back in the house where he had come from. The cook took him out of the fish, cleaned him off, and took him back to his dining room table and placed him just in front of the paper palace. And there, once again, the tin soldier saw the beautiful ballerina. And you know what? He could have sworn she smiled when she saw him. Now, everyone was making such a fuss of the tin soldier and the amazing adventure he'd been on, wondering where he could have been, and everyone was quite excited about the fact that he'd landed back in their house. Everyone, that is, except a small, unpleasant, spiteful little boy. He didn't like the fact that the tin soldier was getting all the attention, so when no one was looking, he grabbed the tin soldier and he threw him on the fire. And the tin soldier lay true and steady and firm in that fire, allowing the flames to engulf him, his eyes fixed on the ballerina. And he could have sworn he saw a little tear coming from her eye. But just at that moment, a wind blew from the window, and it blew. Just at that moment, a wind blew from the window, and it blew in, and it picked up the ballerina, and it blew her all the way into the soldier's arms. The ballerina was made of paper, and she went up into flames really quickly, just as the tin soldier melted away. The next day, when they cleaned out the fire, all that was left of the tin soldier and the ballerina was a tiny tin heart.